So nice of you to come back. I am, once again, Regis Martin, and I teach theology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. That's Ohio, for those of you who think that heading west out of New York, there's really nothing to see until you arrive in Los Angeles. Anyway, I'm here once again to talk about the great theme of incarnation, which is the still point of the turning world, to use my favorite image from the poet T.S. Eliot. But I do so today especially because it's the feast of St. John the Divine, the blessed apostle, whom pious tradition speaks of as the clear-eyed eagle, who had seen more deeply into the things of God than any man living. That, it strikes me, is an inspired piece of symbolism, and the entire Gospel of John makes it pretty clear that was his masterpiece. And it seems to me an indispensable document to the maintenance of the Church's faith, which I'd like to illustrate in the following way. Just suppose, imagine that you had popped into a quiet little chapel to pray just before Mass, and on reaching for your Bible, you discover that the entire New Testament has somehow disappeared. You are instantly dismayed by this development because every blessed page appears to have gone up in smoke. However, in poking about the ruins, you stumble upon a handful of fragments taken from the Johannine testimony. And I ask you, would that constitute a gospel? Might there be just enough in that mosaic of pieces to establish the faith and the hope of Christianity? And the answer, of course, is yes, because in the prologue alone, you have all that you need to jumpstart the business of Christianity. How does it begin? Well, it does so on a sublimely theological note. Listen. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. And all things came to be through him. Without him, nothing that is could possibly have come into being. And what came to be through him was life. And this life was the light of the world. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. It seems to me that you could do a lot worse than to begin with the Gospel of St. John, this clear-eyed eagle who soars beyond the heavens. There he communes with the living God, the same God on whose incarnate breast John reclined his head at the Last Supper. And of course, there is the place where everything in the most dramatic way is begun. That journey into the fourth gospel, it seems to me, invites us to view the entire prologue in an essentially operatic way. Now, what do I mean by operatic? Well, it means that John, the author of the gospel, wants to announce in advance all of the themes that will represent the balance of his narrative, and he wants to develop those themes at great leisure. In other words, you first state in a kind of brief send-up what's coming. Then you set about developing what's coming at greater length. And finally, in a sort of grand summary, you recapitulate all that you've said, which is what we call a coda, or peroration. In other words, you tell the audience what you're going to say, then you say it, and then finally you remind the audience of what it was you said. And really, what is it that John wants to say? Well, I think we can reduce the whole business to 4 great themes. To begin with, there is the eternity of the pre-existing Word, the Word who was with God from the beginning. And then there is the fact that everything that is has come to be in and through this Word. The Word is the architect of being, who animates life at every turn. And then, point 3, the climactic passage, the Word becoming flesh, the event of incarnation, the staggering alliance, as Joseph Ratzinger reminds us of Logos and Sarx, of Word and flesh. And then finally, the answer to the question, why did Jesus have to come? He came to redeem us and to invite us to become children of God. The sheer divinization of man as a result of the humanization of God. So much more needs to be said about these themes, and I hope to return to that another time. But for now, happy feast day.